Good morning. Welcome to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Summit, New Jersey, a community committed to being radically inclusive while feeding the human spirit and healing the world. My name is the Reverend Emilie Boggis, and I am one of your co-ministers.
And I'm the Reverend Dr. Robin Tanner, your other co-minister. It is a gift to see your loving faces here in the sanctuary, as well as those of you joining us online. I invite you to share where you're joining us from in the comment section on both Facebook and YouTube.
Every gathering of people can be a time of joy, comfort, or challenges. Beacon is a place where we come to learn more about what it means to be human. We're not here because we've figured it all out or any of life's questions or because we think we've got it right.
Instead, we come here to learn more about being in relationship together, being in relationship with the earth, the circle of beloveds, and those whom we have not even met. We come to learn how to listen, how to forgive, how to be in right relationship, and how to create trust and compassion among us.
So welcome, you questioners, seekers of truth, pilgrims longing for sanctuary, travelers needing harbor from the storm, siblings who are just hanging on. Welcome to this place of rest.
Welcome all those moving with faith, breaking through loneliness and isolation, pushing past fears because you know that you are a part of something bigger than yourself. Welcome to this circle of belonging.
Welcome, you who seek spiritual connections for your children and youth. Thank you for entrusting your young ones here. We promise to care for and respect them while partaking in their gifts of wisdom, joy, and curiosity. Welcome to this nurturing place.
Here at Beacon, we also recommit to being accountable to one another as an anti-racist, anti-oppressive community that centers marginalized voices, listens to those voices, especially when what is being said is hard to hear. By doing this, we create chances to heal, to repair, to make things right within ourselves, between each other, and yes, the wider world. Welcome to this community of grace.
So to those who can hear our voices,
who seek a place filled with possibility,
we welcome you home.
And now we invite forward our board president, Madan Gounder, to please come and light our chalice.
Hello, everyone. So we light our chalice, the symbol of our faith, for all who call Beacon their home. For those who came before us, those present in this very moment, and those yet to be, may the light of our faith guide us on our journey towards beloved community.
Would you join me in a time of centering? Beloved, be here, wherever here is. Notice the sounds about you, perhaps a fan or a cicada. Notice what you feel. A breeze on the skin, the way the chair holds your body. The touch of thumb to index finger. Notice here the sense, a familiar scent of wood upon floor, or maybe the movement of a cat or dog at your feet, the rumble of your stomach, the sensation of sanctuary. Here now together, I invite us. Recall a time when someone built trust with you. A time when someone embodied the best of covenant, of honoring, respecting, listening, and learning. Consider how that person made you feel, what they did or said. Recall the time given and spent. Were there particular words? Or perhaps it was simply taking the time to listen, to receive story. Consider now this legacy of covenant. How can this gift of right relationship live within you? How can you gift this to those whom you encounter or connect with in the days to come? In the weeks to come, beloved? May we indeed be bearers of the love that lives on. And in so doing, blessed may we be.
Good morning, Beacon. My name is Mia Morse, and I serve our congregation as a chaplain. The grief specialist Francis Weller said, "No one escapes suffering in this life. None of us is exempt from loss, pain, illness, and death. And it is the accumulated losses of a lifetime that slowly weigh us down. That's why each Sunday we hold together the fullness of life through our weekly candle lighting, so that we may hold each other's person's sorrow as a community. Opening to our sorrow connects us with everyone, everywhere. It is our common bond. There is no gesture of kindness that is wasted, no offering of compassion that is useless. We can be generous to every sorrow we see. It is sacred work. If you are holding someone in your heart for whom you'd like a candle lit, I invite you to raise your hand. If you would like us to light a candle for you, I invite you to put your hand on your heart. If you are online, please write your name or the person or place you are lifting up into the chat. Today, our Beacon community is lighting candles for Julia and David Miller and Patty Russell. With each candle lit, may each of us know that we are held in the care and love of our community. We light a candle for a loved one or ourselves with memories and hope that live on within us, burning bright. We also light candles for those that suffered 76 years ago in Hiroshima and Nagasaki with the bombing of the atomic bomb. We also hold our brothers and sisters in Afghanistan in our hearts and prayers. As things progress, life is uncertain, and the Taliban moves in. We are truly blessed to have each other. I am forever grateful for my walk yesterday with our sister and longtime member, Erna Hoover. As we attended the same middle and high school in South Orange and Maplewood, some 40 plus years apart, my heart is forever warmed by the indelible happiness that the egrets and snapping turtles we enjoyed during our precious time together before she moves away. Joy, beauty, and blessing are all around us, beloved.
Amen.
If you have known hysterical laughter, crack yourself up at your silly self, can't catch your breath, laughter this week, I invite you to wave your hands. If you have celebrated a birthday this week, I invite you to snap your fingers. If you've been dancing in your seat, moving to the beat, and singing in the car, I invite you to clap your hands. If you have gratitude and a heart of thankful praise, I invite you to say, Amen. Amen. Beloved, for these gifts and so much more, we give thanks.
And we give thanks for you, Mia. At least 3 to 4 times a week, the same argument will rear its ugly head in my household. Is Mom a Ravenclaw or a Hufflepuff? I'll be engaged in some activity, minding my own business, when one daughter will be watching what I'm doing and say, "You are such a Hufflepuff." At which point the other will jump in from, I'm not kidding, upstairs in her room. She will have heard this, even though I've called her several times for something else, and she will counter her sister, "No way, she's a Ravenclaw." I'm not kidding. Several times a week in that thing that is the sisterly bond of love called bickering. Now, I have to say, no one ever argues over their father's Hogwarts house, because we've determined that he is a muggle. It seems that the Hogwarts house of the fictional Harry Potter world have become very real personality tests for Generation Z. Through these arguments, I have learned that a Hufflepuff is known for the ways that they listen and empathize with others. A Ravenclaw, on the other hand, is known for utilizing wisdom to unpack how we human beings got where we are. So who do you think you are? Does it match with what others think you are? Which Hogwarts house would the sorting hat, known as Generation Z, put you in? And do you trust their assessment? Now, this is important because the way that we see ourselves defines us, whether we see ourselves through our roles in life or whether it's a collection of values. We actually need these things to give our identities and our lives shape and meaning. Over the last few years, I have come across this insane YouTube channel called Yes Theory. It was first called Generation Why Not, created by 3 young men, a Canadian, an Egyptian, and a Frenchman, all who met at McGill University in Canada. As their first name suggests, Generation Why Not, they are all millennials, Generation Y, but only just. They sit on the cusp of Generation Y and Z. Together, their goal is to seek discomfort. That is, they identify and devise experiences that they should probably say no to. Like what? Well, for instance, going to Poland and submerging themselves in sub-zero ice water. Why? Why would you do that? But the challenge is to say yes to discomfort, and so they do. Then these young entrepreneurs film their uncomfortable moments to see what the experiences teach them and how it grows and changes them. Now, I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine an experience for yourself, a thing that you have been wishing you had the courage to do. Maybe it keeps just calling to you. What if I did that? Maybe you've been afraid to say yes to it. Maybe there's been a little voice inside your head saying, you could never do that. And then the voice lists all the reasons why. There's not enough money, there's not enough time. Maybe it's your family and friends who say, no way, not you. Beloved, what is that thing that you wish you could do, that you wish you could say yes to? Hold it in your mind's eye, and I invite you to open your eyes. When you think about that thing that you'd like to do, who do you trust? Do you trust the voice that says, you could never do that? That's not who you are. And I posit to you, what if we trusted the voice that says, go for it? See what you can learn. How would that grow us? When I first started watching the Yes Theory videos, I rolled my eyes. It's just another way for what I perceive to be privileged boys doing ridiculous things. What I wasn't prepared for was the inner depth of these young men. The ways that they talked about very real things like anxiety, things that are very real to their generation. One of the Yes Theory guys, Matt, revealed that he had this construct of who he was in his head. It said, or it told him, you always get close to your goal, but in the end, you will always lose. You are a loser, it says. Whether it was a sport or his education or relationships, he was always going to lose. He'd get close, though, tantalizingly close. What's funny is that he wasn't even aware of this narrative running through his unconsciousness until he said yes to a crazy thing. Matt said yes to participating in an Ironman and began training for it. For months, he trained day in and day out, hours and hours each day. And with each day, that voice grew louder. You will get close, but you will always lose. You will get close, but you will always lose. You will get close, but you will lose. It was only in his training that he exposed that narrative, that construct, and started to pay attention to it. It was only then that he started to reflect back on his life and the different opportunities that came his way that he tried to say yes to, but that voice was there. He saw that it had consistently been whispering to him throughout his life. And then there was that day at the Ironman competition. Matt had been doing so well, but then there towards the last leg, he started to fade. His trainer turned to his friends, those who had gathered on the sideline to cheer him on, and he told them with concern in his voice, "Oh my gosh, Matt is done. You can't grit your teeth and knuckle down for this entire last leg. You can do that for 60 seconds, but you can't do that for 2 hours." It looked like that voice had been loud in Matt's head right then, and he was going to prove that narrative right. He was going to fade. And then suddenly, his lag turned into renewed strength. Matt not only finished the race, but he beat the time he set out for himself. He was now undoubtedly a winner. Anytime that voice said, "You will come close and lose in the future," he could say, I finished the Ironman. We all have stories that we tell ourselves about who we are or who we should be, consciously and unconsciously. The question is, beloved, are they true? How do you uncover them? How do you test them so you can determine whether or not they're voices you can actually trust? Whether we are seeking discomfort or discomfort comes to our doorstep, discomfort has a way of exposing our narratives and testing them. I have to admit that I feel a real kinship with the novelist Ursula Le Guin, who I believe to be a Ravenclaw, who said, "I am a slow unlearner, but I love my unteachers." Because that is what seeking discomfort is. It is an unteacher. Moving outside of his comfort zone was the primary unteacher for Matt. It's the way that he exposes and unlearns the mental and emotional narratives that have defined his life. What's even more compelling about Matt's story is that it wasn't necessarily crossing the finish line or even the Ironman race itself that was Matt's unteacher. It was the practice itself. It was the training. As cliche as it sounds, it's not the destination, it is actually the journey. Every time Matt worried about whether or not it was worth it, his coach and friend Aaron would reset his thinking, saying, "Oh, Matt, don't get attached to the result. Don't get attached to that finish line. The true result is who we get to be because of our practice, day in and day out, and where it leads us. Because each and every day that you show up to practice, you'll find something in yourself that you didn't know you had." And that's why on race day, Matt did begin to fade. That voice was loud, but Matt didn't trust it because he had found something in himself that he knew to be true, that he trusted. And so he said, "You are not true this day, and I don't trust you." Beloved, this is important because we are living through an era of unraveling. Deep ecologist Joanna Macy has named this time the Great Turning as we live through the consequences of centuries of imperialism and colonialism, slavery, industrialism, capitalism. These things are woven into us. We have to unlearn them. These things have never worked for everyone. In fact, these systems were built on the backs of the very lives and societies, communities, and civilizations of other people. What's new is that the systems are no longer working for those of us for whom it was intended to benefit. We don't need to seek discomfort. It is here in the unraveling of what we have built. What I learned from the Yes Theory guys is how to use this time of profound discomfort as an unteacher, asking how can discomfort help us interrogate who we think we are, not only as individuals, but maybe even more importantly, as a society, the stories we tell ourselves about what is possible. How can we learn or use discomfort to unlearn the very systems that have shaped us? Here at Beacon, we so often talk about being a beloved community as Dr. King taught us. And I have to tell you that for so long I have thought that maybe the things that maybe some generation on down the line, maybe some generation after Generation Z, they will get to beloved community. They will cross the finish line. But I have stopped believing that beloved community is a place where you arrive, like some sort of distant heaven. I have started believing that beloved community is something you practice day in and day out when you stop believing that things have to be the way that they are right now. When you let go of right now and the narrative that is coming at you, the narrative that tells you who you've always been. Change, say the Yes Theory guys, requires that we break through the limitations that we put on ourselves. It means creating a sustained practice of letting go of who we believe we ought to be and tapping into ourselves as we are right now. Mind, body, and spirit. So I invite you into a challenge this week. That is what the Yes Theory guys do. They invite you into a challenge, and it is a challenge for which you must say what? Yes. That thing that you wish you could do, that thing that you thought of earlier that you are holding in your mind's eye, I want you to write it down. I want you to go out and tell a friend what it is that it is calling to you. And then answer the question, what's stopping me from doing it? And does it have to stop me? And then make your first move toward making it happen. Now, I have to admit that I am betting good money that at least one of you will leave today's service. You'll walk away from today's service thinking that your minister told you to enter an Ironman competition. And I just really want to say right now that that is not what I am saying. But blessings upon you should you choose that challenge. What I am inviting you to do is to seek discomfort. And for the discomfort that is around us, in this moment, use it as an unteacher. Allow it to shape who we are becoming. Because, beloved, no matter what Hogwarts house the sorting hat places you in, and what that says about who you are, I want to bless your unlearning. May it be so. Ashe and amen.
Hey, it's my pleasure to talk about community and connection at Beacon. I've had some great opportunities to connect at Beacon. I've made some lifelong friends at community group, and I had the honor to drive around our visitors from Pennsylvania when they visited. But the one thing I want to talk about is my friendship with a Beacon member, Rosemary Levine. When COVID first hit, Emilie asked me if I can go grocery shopping for Rosemary. She lived in Winchester Gardens. It was a nearby retirement community. And I was going grocery shopping for my family every 2 or 3 days. And I always wanted to see inside Winchester Garden, to tell you the truth. So it was a pleasure. COVID hit Winchester Gardens pretty hard. Rosemary lost her husband in April 2020. So the way it worked is Rosemary's daughter would text me a grocery list. I'd go to a couple different stores and bring them. At first, it was kind of like a Halloween prank. I would ring her doorbell, drop the groceries off, and run away. After a few weeks of that, Rosemary would answer the door. We'd chat a little bit. After a few weeks of that, I'd come in, we'd chat, socially distanced, with our mask on. But I got to find out so much about her. And before that, I had only created a composite in my head about her. She had some really interesting ice cream choices. She loved this chocolate truffle ice cream that I actually is not my favorite. She would only like Italian frozen dinners that were actually made in Italy. So those were kind of hard to find at Trader Joe's. And she'd really turned me on to a great detergent at Dollar General that I still use today. But as we talked, I got to find out so much more about her beyond this composite I made from her list. I found out about, she lived for many years in Iran as a linguist. We talked about our families, our religious experiences. It was just great getting to know her. They say that music is the silence between the notes. And what I found out is that friendship's a lot like that too. I got to really appreciate Rosemary from our conversations, but also from getting these groceries between our meetings. It's a friendship that I cherish now, and I'll always cherish. Beacon is about this type of community. We all bring our gifts, our talents, our interests, and our generosity. So I'd ask you to look at the information after this and give generously from the heart to Beacon. Thank you.
Before the pandemic, I would have invited you here at the end of the service to rise in body or spirit and to hold hands with one another. Obviously, that is not something we can do now. So I invite you to rise and to put your hand on your heart and listen to its gentle beating. Feel it there. Allow its beating to bring you life this day, to be able to say yes to moments of discomfort for the true unteachers they are. And now, beloved, in our comings and our goings, may the light of love shine upon us, out from within us, and be gracious unto us. For this, beloved, is the day that we have been given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Amen.